Hello and welcome to the August edition of Freedom Friday. I am Sarita Price, your coach and strategist who is skilling you softly. Welcome to the August edition. So this is actually pre-recorded. I had some things going on, but that's just nevertheless, we are here this month for Freedom Friday. And what we are talking about this month is actually, I probably should have named it my dearest white and black people. Let's talk about mindset. But nevertheless, this topic is, if you guys have watched my any lives I've done before, first of all, it's all things soft skills, right? So, but I want to talk about, some of the events that's been happening lately and some of the things that's going on. And this has really been working my last nerve, I guess you can say. There's a lot that I want to share. Hopefully, tonight is only 30 minutes, but we shall see, right? But, with everything going on, I know it's like, are you going to talk about, the Montgomery, what they call the Alabama brawl? Maybe just a little bit. But what I want to focus on, really is what are we doing after that? Why am I talking about mindset? So, with everything going on in the country, you guys know me. I don't talk about some of these uh, hot topics. I'm more focusing on me just as a person of what I do. I'm more focused on talking about solutions than I am the problem. One of the philosophies that I use is with my clients, we're only going to take about 15, maybe 20% of the time talking about what the problem, the remaining 80 plus percent, we're going to talk about solutions. So I think a lot of times we don't, especially with everything going on, we don't talk about solutions. We spend too much time talking about the problem. This is America. Everything going on since the pandemic, we know there's a problem. There's been a problem for the last 400 years if we want to talk about it. So, some of the things I have my bullet points here that I want to talk about on this Freedom Friday. I'm talking about the mindset of my people, African Americans. Yes, and let me stop and put a disclaimer here in the beginning of this because I sent a newsletter out earlier today. And I have just as many. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I bought Freedom Friday back, because really and truly I had no intention of doing that, is because of one of my friends, one of my associates, white associates, asked me, Sarita, I miss your Freedom Fridays. Why don't you bring them back? I'm like, wow. So I have just as many white associates and white people that listen to my lives as well as they are subscribed to my newsletter as black. So I'm talking to both tonight, all people, because another thing I don't hide, I have a relationship with God. If you want to classify religion, yes, I am a Christian. I have a relationship with God. I don't necessarily get caught up in some of the religious dogma, but yes, I have a relationship with God. Everything, my foundation is on God, right? So, no, I am not anti-white. I am not anti-black. Um, there are some things that have happened in my life, and I'm going to share some things that my experience. So everybody has an opinion, right? There's an old saying, every opinion is just like, I'll just keep it clean and say no. It's pretty much everybody has one, right? But this is from my experience being in just growing up in South, growing up in a little small town called Whiteville, Tennessee, having parents that were not really baby boomers. They was the generation before that. They were part of the silent generation. My mom and dad, if they would have been living, God rest their souls, they would have been in their late 90s. So they saw some stuff, right? So I grew up working in court. I, went to college, went to a PWI, predominantly white school, and I saw some stuff. And for my opinions, worked in corporate America, I have seen a lot in my years, where it's personally, professionally, relationships, what have you. And, and I'm a person that studies. I study my people. I know a lot. My parents raised me to be what you call now, diverse. And because my father had a business, he was an entrepreneur as well as, and he had just as many white customers in little Whiteville, Tennessee, that he had black. So, I've had my woes and my shares of all of it. But let me just say this to my white audience and my associates who are listening to this. Just because I'm pro-black does not mean I'm anti-white, right? There needs to be a balance. So, the first thing I want to talk about is, this is to my white audience, or non-African American audience that's listening to me. One thing you have to understand, um, we as a people, I speak, we have 400 years of trauma. I'm gonna give you some resources that's going to help you out. You cannot listen to everything you hear on media about. Every time I turn around, you're talking about racism and this, and I'm a white American. I don't hate black people, but I'm just tired of listening and hearing all this. But I want you to understand the trauma. We have 400 years of DNA in our trauma in our DNA, right? A lot of things we have been denied the privilege that you have. So I just want you to understand this first and foremost. I'm setting this foundation. You have to understand this. We're fighting against, racism. We're fighting as a black woman. Not only am I fighting against racism, I'm fighting against sexism. We're fighting against classism. So you have to understand, we didn't get that foundation that you have guys had. And you probably think everything's okay. It hadn't been okay for a long time. We just have been silent and hadn't said anything. I've experienced, like I say, in every area of my life. And God created us all, okay, in his image. So it would be a wonderful thing when we looked at people, is the first thing we noticed was they were human beings, and not their skin color, and not their sexuality, and not if they're male or female. First of that's just lay that foundation. So I want you guys to understand that this is why. And then you have, just like just for example, I have friends. You've always had privilege. Have you always had money? No. But at least you didn't have to worry about, back in the 60s and before, in the 70s, really, and before, you couldn't go in a store in the front door because of your skin color. You've never experienced that. So when you have a people that have been beat down for so long psychologically, yeah, this is the repercussions of what happened. It's just like, the psychology is more psychological than anything, because even though and that's why I'm talking about mindset, even though we are free, some of us are still not free. We're dealing with the mindset of generational strongholds. We free, but our minds, some of us, our what we do, our actions we take. So I just want, my white sisters and brothers to understand. Understand. So, you have to understand before you can be understood yourself, right? Understand what's going on. Am I using that as an excuse? No, because many of us have gone on and are successful, but it has not been easy, and it's still not easy. This is Black Business Month. We celebrate Black business in the month of August, just in case you didn't know that. As a Black business owner, I have not been given the privilege, had the freedom to obtain loans and different things like that, because there are systems set in place, my white American friends, that are against us. Now, you remember I said in the beginning, I don't spend a lot of time talking about problems. We talk about the solutions. So, let's move on. But before I go into that, let me give you some resources to help you out if you want to do some research. And I am saying this from the bottom of my heart. Try to understand Black people before you saying they're, before your prejudice come out. We as a people, there are different cultures. There's even subcultures within African American. Some of the subcultures in the South, in the North, they're different. We're still a people, but even though we're a people, we have differences as far as in culture within the African American community. So you can't put everybody in one basket, right? And other thing to my African American sisters and brothers, you have to understand not every white person is a racist. Because in my career, I've had more of my more of my white sisters and brothers help educate me than I have my own kind. Now I could easily take the role like some of my African American sisters and brothers. They just we have classism within our own race. We have the haves and have-nots. I'm just going to be honest and be bold. We experience this in Memphis, Tennessee. You have the Black people who are the upper echelon. You have the one, the middle class, and you have the ones that are not. Sometimes we get in a position we don't want to help each other, you know. But that's some stuff we're going to have to deal with within our own culture and within our own society, because at the end of the day, you're still Black. Okay. So, but there are different books out. It may upset you, but the titles of some of these books, I remember my daughter, she's a Gen Z. Okay. But I remember I have the whole DVD collection of Roots. Came out in 1977. I never will forget. I was 7 years old. My mom and dad sit me down and I watched it. Was I angry? Of course I was angry. I didn't understand. But I did the same thing with her. But she knows where she's from. She knows her background, all of those things. She knows as a people where she came from. I did Ancestry DNA. Only thing is, Ancestry DNA told me more about my Caucasian side of me than my Black. So I'm in the process of doing an African ancestry. So I know what part of Africa, what country in Africa, what tribe that my ancestors came from. Those things like that. So when you have somebody like Florida's wonderful governor trying to just strip history, that's wrong. This is where we as African Americans are going to have to come together and educate our own. See, back in the day, they used to educate their own. They didn't depend on the school system because it was segregated, right? So my Black people, you're going to have to come together, because this foolery that's going on in Florida, guess what, baby? It's getting ready to hit all these southern states and probably some up north. And I'm gonna just put a pin in that, because I'm coming back to that. The reason that is happening, it should not be happening, but the reason it is happening. We as a people, we're fighting against, generational miseducation, ignorance. To my white people, there's a book by Carol Anderson called White Rage. She breaks it down about what's going on. There's a book, she's an educator and she's a DEI advocate, and she's a professor. Her name is Jane Elliott, if I'm not mistaken. I tried to play her video, but of course I don't know what's going on. It wouldn't have played. Look her up. She's a white lady. She's Caucasian. She's an advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion. She's been on Oprah Winfrey show. She's been on a lot of those shows. And I'm going to be honest, I know a lot about, from my experience. Now, I can't speak for all African Americans. This is another thing too. We get these African Americans known and unknown. Everybody speak their truth. This is from my experience, what I've experienced over the last 25 years, how I was brought up, the things that I were told, right? So you have to make sure that you are educated, my white sisters and brothers, and don't be so quick to judge. And no, I know American culture was based on, we were slaves when we brought over here. We were never intended to be free. We were supposed to be, but God, just like he bought the Israelites out of bondage, he bought us out of bondage too. But we are behind on certain things, a lot of things, really. But we are overcoming. We ain't overcame yet because, like I said, we still in the certain mindset of we've been free, but we're not free mentally. In our mind, we're not free because some of us keep making these, the same mistakes. Um, I'm looking at my notes too. Like I said, the classism among our people, I talked about that. And to my Black people, remember what the word says: a house divided against itself cannot stand. We are stronger when we stand together. Ha! The Alabama Brawl showed that. Finally stood together because we're tired. We're tired of the crap. We are tired. I'm tired of stuff like that. But we came together. So let us remember that. Um, Another source, my white sisters and brothers. I'm located in Memphis, Tennessee. Now I know the majority of people probably see this going to be in Memphis, but some of the things I touched based on why we are angry, why we scared. There's a lot you don't know. It goes so much deeper that we've never shared because it was taboo, right? Even to the point of African American women and our hair. I could dare see myself 20 years ago going to work with my natural hair. They will look at me and probably want to send me home because that was no. And the thing is, that's why, you got these lawsuits out now against these relaxers. I remember my OBGYN back, I had to have surgery because it was more African American women researching. He did this research himself, and they talked to other doctors. I remember when he said this, even before this lawsuit came out against relaxers. He said his theory was relaxers were giving Black women ovarian and uterus cancer, fibroids. Exactly what he said. Now, you see these lawsuits out now because we're trying to straighten our hair to fit into the corporate world, into um, the white society. Said our hair should be straight and long and luxurious, and that was how beauty was defined. The lighter your skin, the more beautiful you are. That's not true. Yeah, I am a light African American female, you know, and I have seen how some of my sisters who are dark complexion are treated different. Wrong. One of the things you want to irritate me, if you really want to get on my bad side or see the other Rita come out, because that's my alter ego. I call her Rita, by the way. I have nieces and my sisters and my not blood sisters who are dark complexion. One thing you want to irritate me, and I'm going to help, and let me help my white sisters out who's listening to this. Don't ever say you are so pretty to be a dark skinned woman. Oh, that irritates me. I've had nieces had to like, TT is okay. No, it's not okay. Why can't you just be a beautiful Black, beautiful woman, no matter what color, tone, dark, light, brown, whatever? Just like, also, you saying all dark skinned Black women are ugly? And she's something? No, don't do that. I'm helping y'all along the way, my white sisters. Don't do that. She's a beautiful woman. Just keep it that way and keep it moving. Okay? All right. So I digress. Let me get back on track here. But there's some things that irritates me to the fullest because it comes from miseducation and ignorance. This is what's killing our country. You're not educated, you're ignorant, you're going by the status quo, which I talk about that. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit earlier. I don't like status quo, especially when it's not for the greater good of all. It's not doing any good, right? Mindset of our Black people. Now, I'm getting ready to, y'all know I love y'all, right? But this is real. We know there's racism. We know there's issues. We know there's systems. We know now, especially since the pandemic in the Trump era, how all hell has broke loose. Really and truly, I'm kind of glad it's happening because at least I know, at least I know what I'm dealing with. I don't know about you. And the wonderful 8 years when we had a black president, but let me tell you what was happening during those 8 years while we got comfortable and celebrate. They were strategizing. I'm not, yes, probably one particular political party, but they went by themselves. There are some in other political parties. They hide it, but they racist too. Okay. They were plotting and planning. They was plotting and planning to get somebody in office after President Obama, his last term. And guess what? This particular he was talking the right things. Oh, we gonna make America great again. We gonna go back. I guess they thought they was going back to the 1950s, right? What you did was you did something that you thought was gonna get there, but it actually backfired. Because see, let me explain something to you about this newer generation. The millennials and Gen Zs and a few of my generation, which I'm part of Generation X. And by the way, Generation X, where y'all at? Y'all too quiet. Anyway, let me go back. Millennials, Gen Zs, not only just black, these Caucasian, the white sisters, younger sisters and brothers, they ain't going. They weren't brought up in a society where they just brought up to be racist unless they were trained in home, because children are innocent. They're not born racist. You see these pictures of these little children, black and white children, hugging on each other, talking to each other. Racism, classism, all the isms, they're learned. They're taught. You're not born a racist. Okay? But majority of the younger generation, Gen Z and the millennials, they ain't going. I am so freaking happy to see these millennials and Gen Zs are getting in office, right? It's awesome. I want to do everything I can to support, push them to run for offices. Somebody asked me the other day, why don't you run for office? I was like, no, baby, that wouldn't be a good thing if I ran for office. No, I'm going to keep being an advocate, what I'm doing now with lives and webinars and different things that are coming down the pipeline. Mine is through innovation, education, inspiration, and motivation. Those are my four that I flow in to get the word out. But I am so happy to see this younger generation doing what they do. They're not taking it. They're not putting up with it. They're moving. But the only thing I want my African American sisters and brothers to, and I want you to listen to me and listen to me well. I'm an advocate for economic empowerment, economic development. Always have been. It's just part of me. It's part of my DNA. My dad I'll talk about my father, who I love dearly. My dad had a sixth grade education, but he had a trade. He had a trade. He was a plumber and a carpenter, right? Smart, very smart. He taught me about money, about saving. He taught me about, Sharita, once you get a job, always put 6 rent payments or keep house payments, mortgage payments in the bank. And when I lost my job, was laid off in 2011, if it had not, even though I reached out to eventually get, there was a grant that I was awarded that saved my home. If I hadn't had that money saved up, I would have lost my home before that grant, because with the paperwork, it took that, to get everything going. It took about 2 or 3 months. But I had 6 mortgage payments in my savings account, just like my dad had taught me. So I'm saying all this to say, we as a people, let me give you a little stats about how powerful the African American spending money is, how powerful we are. Research shows that African Americans' yearly buying power, that's the 2 words I'm looking for, buying power, is over $1.6 trillion. Yet we only make up 12 to 13% of the population, the US population. We are powerful and we don't even realize it. Just imagine, right? If we stop buying from these organizations who are, yeah, I want to say that don't truly value African Americans. They love you long as you spending your money with them, but they don't value you. They just want your money. They love your money, but they only tolerate you. I'm gonna say that again. These organizations, they love your money. These big corporations, they love your money, but they only tolerate you because you making them rich. Okay. Um, I made this note here. I said that most black folks, we still sharecropping in the business world. And if you don't know what sharecropping is, looking up. It's what black folks did after, we had, we got some land and we still, no, we didn't have land. We still worked for the white people in the fields because my mom and dad sharecropped. They, like I said, they were born in the early 1920s, the mid to late 1920s. So they told me stories. I listened to my grandmother. My grandmother was born in 1892. As a little girl, she and I shared a room together. I got so much knowledge from what she told me, the stories. They sharecropped. So what that was, you worked on the white folks' land, and at the end of the crop, you would get a percentage. But most of them, a lot of them, except my dad, he was smart. They were gypped out of their money. They end up with nothing because they would hike prices of the seed and the fertilizer. I mean, just a bunch of mess to keep them down. So if you think about it, a lot of us still sharecropping in corporate America. We working all these jobs, making this pennies to the $1 billion that they're actually making. Now, with that said, I'm an entrepreneur. I teach entrepreneurship and innovation, but I am well aware that everybody is not meant to be an entrepreneur. I'm aware of that. But let me just say this. If you are, we are some of the most smartest. Let me tell you something about our people. And this is where I'm gonna bring the Alabama brawl in. So after the videos hit, do you know within 24 hours, some people had already created jewelry, they had already created apparel line, making money off this. And some of the creative videos, I was gonna show. Most of y'all have already seen these videos. I cracked my side. They are hilarious. I saw so many gifts, talents, and abilities being used. Use that to make money. Some people are making a killing off this. But here's my question to you, my black people. Let's talk about mindset. What do you? Let's just say you sold 1,000,000 t-shirts. No, I'm just throwing it. But probably by the end of the month, you probably will be sold 1,000,000 t-shirts. Let's just say your profit margin is, even if it's $1, you got $1,000,000. Think about that. So what are you doing with it? Now, you have to, if you're going to go in business, you got to do it the right way. I'm not talking about selling stuff out the back of your trunk. I'm talking about, getting the business license, you're doing the right things. Are you educating yourself? Okay. Are you saving money? Are you putting money back? Are you, like my dad taught me, putting at least 6 rent or mortgage payments in the bank? Mindset. Yes, we're struggling, we're dealing with a lot, but let's talk solutions. You can't spend everything. My philosophy is, behind me is I have a vision board. I have a vision board and I have a manifestation board. Always, except last year I took it to another level. I can't see myself um with a child. Let's just say I had a child that was in school, in college, with loans, and got to get loans, got to get, she got to have, let's just say you might get a few grants, Pell Grants, but that's not given these days and time. And need to pay tuition, all these things. And I'm driving a 2023 Mercedes. My car note is $600 a month. But my child don't have tuition money to go to college. Don't make sense. When I worked at Nike, Don't get me wrong, everybody got their money, and but I knew for a fact some people I knew didn't even have utility bill money, but you were in line to get the latest drop of a Nike shoe that came out, and you couldn't even pay your utilities. Better one for you. Your child in school now, everything's electronic. You need internet, but you'll go buy that Nike shoe that drop, and your child on internet don't have internet to do her homework with. It doesn't make sense. Mindset. I've had and see, I'm the kind, I talk to anybody. I'm very open. I'm just put this out here. If any of my white associates and are looking at this and you want to know something, I'll be happy to sit down and talk to you about, like I say, this is just from my experience, but I'm sure certain African Americans have had similar experience. I've been on public assistance. I'm not ashamed to say it. I hit a hard spot after I got laid off from a corporate American job. I still keep my EBT card as a reference to where I came from, but look, I paid my taxes. It was a hand up, not a constantly hand out. I got something to say about that. Give me a couple of minutes. I'm gonna talk about that too. But I'm not ashamed because me and my child had to eat. But it was something that was temporarily that I had to use because of the situation, just like the pandemic. There's a lot of people, not just Black people. Let me just explain something to you guys. African Americans only make up about 12% of the population. We only make 12% of the population. The majority of the people on welfare nationwide are not Black people. It's white people. So when you start getting rid of programs like all those public assistance programs, you're hurting more white people than you are Black people. And there's certain demographics in certain cities where the African American population is the highest. Of course, a lot of my people are gonna, the majority of people on public assistance are gonna be Black people. Like Memphis, probably the majority of the people are African Americans. But overall, nationally, the majority of the people on public assistance, they're not Black. So I want y'all to, the media show y'all stuff they want to show you, but it's not the truth. There are Black people that are doing well. There are Black people that well educated. We're not ignorant. We know what's going on. Very talented, very gifted, smart, creators, inventors, innovative. So, I mean, you have to, I had to do what I had to do, but I don't apologize for it. Okay? Because I'm a US citizen, I paid my taxes and still paying my taxes like everybody else. But sometimes you have to get off your pride and do what you need to do. And I did what I need to do. But that's where I'm not there now. Praise God. Okay. So, I'm saying all this to say my people, Black people, my dearest Black people, we are a powerful people, but we got to change the way we think. You'll spend money to go to a concert and knowing you don't have your rent to pay next month. That's stupid. Well, I only live once. Okay, is that person you going to see, they're going to pay your mortgage when you homeless? No. Mindset. I'm not focusing on all this too much. Don't get me wrong. I listen to the news because you have to need to know what's going on. You can't be ignorant walking around here. But my focus on is creating generational wealth. I have a grandbaby now. I'm trying to leave a legacy for her. I'm putting things together, knowledge and putting classes and things together. I'm creating wealth to leave my grandchild because she would never know the struggles her mom, myself, or even her great grandparents, who she would never know, had to go through. Now she's going to be accountable for some things. We're just not going to give her everything on a silver platter, but she would lack nothing. My Black people, my dearest Black people, certain things we have to make better choices. the latest fashion, your hair and your nails, that's good. But how have you paid all your bills? Have you put any money to the side? If it's nothing but 10% of your check, or throw $20 every time you get paid in a savings account, you'll be surprised how that adds up. What are you doing? I'm a firm believer in paying my tithes. Are you paying your tithes? Because I'm telling you right now, God is will manifest supernatural blessings for you when you pay into the kingdom, right? When you are, because guess what? That money is going to, that's another topic itself. We're not even going to talk about get into the church, because I know people like, well, I don't like with the church and what they doing with the money. That's between them and Jesus. You pay your tithes, you give God his first. And that's how I have been so tremendously blessed. When it's a non-factor for me that's what's going to happen every time I get paid. But I'm also putting money back, putting money up. And if you're a business owner, hey, multiple streams of income. That's what I'm working on, right? So my black people, we got to change our mindset. We got to change the way we think. It's a poverty mindset. Another thing I want to say about that. And if you come from generational poverty, if you are on public assistance and your mama was on public assistance, your grandmother's on public assistance, I know you think, I have heard young people say that's their way of life. But let me explain something to you. And if you can't do any better, I'm not talking to you, okay? But let me tell you this is a prophetic word from me. This have been in my heart for a long time. We see the way things are going right now, and yeah, I know I'm 37 minutes. I'm over my time, but I'm gonna finish it very soon. We see the way things are going on right now. We see you're cutting education, trying to cut education programs and classes. Don't you think they're coming for public assistance too? There will be no welfare system or system soon. So what you gonna do then? You need to start preparing. If you don't know how, you Google everything else. There are so many programs, educational programs, financial literacy programs. Just Google nearest you. Learn how to deal with your money and to budget, and choose the career or entrepreneurship, whatever. It's coming to the point now where they're time out, my dearest black people, for some excuses. Yeah, I know we are in a situation. We got situations where, like I said, you're dealing with racism. Some of the systems are not for us, they're against us. Yes, it's going to be twice as hard than it is for most of our white sisters and brothers, because you guys have that privilege. Having white privilege, don't apologize for. Let me just put that in there. Don't apologize for, but just I want you to understand that you do have it. Your skin is a privilege. Don't apologize for it. You didn't have anything to do with it. Just like God made you white, he made me black. That is how, but we, at the end of the day, we are all one. We are human beings. But when you see things going on against your African American sisters and brothers, and you could do something about it, and you don't do anything about it, that's the issue. You see it, but you do nothing about it. You don't speak up enough. But I don't know. Maybe you're scared if you do, it's going to be retaliation against you. Because see, back in the day, that's why they need to keep Black history and things in the history books, because see, back in the day, when white people would help Black people, they would actually, some of them would got lynched themselves, they got killed, or they would call them, the N-word lovers, nigger lovers. There was some of that, but these are different days and times. It just depends also too on your social status. If you're rich and you may be in certain circles, and they may retaliate. But my thing is, right is right and wrong is wrong. So my white sisters and brothers, when you see things, whether it be on in personal, work related, whatever, and you see someone being discriminated against, whether it's race, sex, religion, any of that, and you don't speak up, you just as guilty. You see something, you need to say something because that is not right. The Alabama brawl, you couldn't see all of it, but I saw some other white people that wasn't part of that little crew that was helping the black people out there. There was some of them out there, and most of these videos that I have actually seen on TikTok and IG is white people talking about it was wrong. It was just freaking hilarious to me. I mean, it really was. I guess I throw mine in like, I don't condone violence. I don't. But when you tired and you sick and tired of being sick and tired, yeah. So my dearest black people and my dearest white people, let's talk about mindset. We talked about mindset. You got to change your mindset. If this country is ever going to go in the direction of upward mobility for all, this trash that's going on, this foolishness, it's got to stop. It has to stop. I don't really have anything else for you guys about this, but I just want you to educate yourself, my dearest white people. As I sum this up, educate yourself. Sometimes just talk to a black person and ask them questions. Not everybody's going to get angry and get offensive. Leave me a message. Email me. I'm going to give you my contact information. I'd be happy to talk to you. Because I think, like I stated earlier, there's too much ignorance and miseducation about African Americans. The lies, the stereotypes, the foolishness, it needs to stop. Okay? All right, so let me get back here to just to share some good news with you. I posted this. Let me get this off here so you can see this whole. Some of the things that I've done in the marketplace. Yes, I have come to terms that I am a disruptor. I've always been that way. I don't do well with the status quo, especially if it's not for the greater good of all and it's being done just to be done, just to do it. Nobody wants to change it. I don't, yeah. So I joined had the privilege and honor of being a part of this organization. Just on my screen. Being a part of this organization called Disrupt HR, and there's a national chapter. And so we actually had an event on June the 8th, Disrupt HR Memphis matinee style. It was ultimately a success. It went nationwide. No one had ever did a matinee style. It was so cool. We got actually national recognition. So we made history, by the way. I was so honored to be a part of history. Disrupt HR Memphis, of course, it's Disrupt HR. It's like a global organization. It now spans approximately 35 countries and about 155 cities. So this is actually a movement. It's designed to energize and to inform and to empower leaders and game changers. Well, really anyone, who's passionate about people and the world of work and that are willing to take some risk, stay on the pot. In short, just be disruptive in order to, to compete in the global marketplace. So I was honored to be a part of this. Of course, I did all things soft skills, skilling you softly, how soft skills get you through hard times. It was a 5-minute presentation. It was wonderful. So if you want to know more about it, you can Google Disrupt HR. And we have a local chapter here, Disrupt HR Memphis as well. So if you want to find out more information about that. Also, what else is going on in the marketplace? Hold on. What just happened here? Oh, I forgot. I accidentally took that off. Let me put it back on the screen here. What else is going on in the marketplace? If you guys don't know, I'm always conduct quarterly, well, maybe twice a year webinars with SCORE Memphis. So we got a webinars coming up. I actually will be facilitating in September how to make social media work platforms work for your business. This September the 5th is for Instagram, Facebook, and Instagram. And then on the 19th is LinkedIn and, well, I guess they call it Twitter. I just see the X now, so I just say Twitter. I'll just say the X, formerly known as Twitter. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want you know. I don't know what Elon Musk is doing. But anyway, I'll be conducting those webinars. They're free, so go ahead, go to SCORE Memphis. I think it's score.org/Memphis. You can register for those webinars as well, and especially if you're a business owner, on how to make social media work for your business. Okay. All right. So always let's keep in touch. This is my information. If you got any questions about tonight's segment or questions for me, like I said, I'll be happy. I'm telling you, I mean, I'll be happy to come talk to you. Seriously. So email address, send me an email. All things to read. I have a website. This is also my mailing address. Let's stay in touch as well. And of course, as always, thank you, those who always support me. What I call my soft skill matters movement. And anything that I do, I greatly appreciate your support. Thank you for your support. And as always, protect your peace. So when needed, your peace can protect you. Have an amazing night. Have an amazing weekend. And I will see you next month. Bye.